Welcome everyone. This is another episode for the Healthy You Conference. Find health and life balance with Qigong and other techniques. So today we are so excited and honored to bring Robert Clancy, my new good friend from New York actually. So Robert Clancy I would just call him multi-talented. So he's a host of the Mindset Reset television show that's going to launching in the fall, maybe sooner. So he's a creative visionary, a #1 international bestseller author, spiritual teacher, co-founder of the Spiral Design Studio. He's a president of the Guide to the Soul. And then he is also a martial arts teacher. So he also teach martial arts, the Hapkido. You know that I don't practice by the way I say it, right? So, and then we also do the Taekwondo. He also teaches of that, and it's something I don't do too. So, and then we're gonna talk about today is about Qi energy of business and life. And welcome, Robert.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor and pleasure to be here and to talk to a fellow martial artist like yourself too, and bringing that to business. So that's awesome.
So thank you so much for coming here. So there's so many questions I think I like to know about you more, and also from the audience, right? One of the things I just find that is you are really multi-talented. As I said, you also have the business side. You also want to have a message to go to the world, even go into doing a show or something. Where's the passion that inspire you to keep going this way?
Yeah, there's so many things. It's all, for me, life is energy, and it's bringing it to the light. So whatever you do, and if you have a passion, you follow that road, it takes you to that place. And it's really about trusting the guides that you meet along the way. And they'll always steer you back to that road. And every path, if you take it correctly, ends with love. So it's walking that, and when you're on that right road, because every time you take a step forward on it, you feel the joy of where you're going. And so I just keep going because I enjoy teaching martial arts. It's something I've been doing for 20 years, and I got my own school charter from the International Combat Aikido Federation, which was amazing. And I started out in my basement, and then there were 2 of us, then there were 4 of us, then 6 of us. And I said, okay, I got to take this potted plant and put it in. So I just sublease space at a Taekwondo studio, another master that I know, and get floor space, and people show up, and we teach martial arts and self-defense. And I'm really working into some higher concepts of the energy, which I love working with, staying even looser. Like it's a non-tense, very fluid motion. And that's what I enjoy. So all these paths lead to that. And that's when you can take your passion and make it action. That's the key.
Great. Well, I do have some very close students. They since become healers with me, and then they are Taekwondo, Hapkido instructor. You see, I don't practice that for sure. So, and then the other thing I like to know more about you is people have a journey from a child, right? Sometimes, do you have some special moments that you actually figure out you are weird, maybe unusual, or maybe You know what I mean? You just don't know ourselves when we are small, right?
Yeah, my earliest memory that I have, even before I could speak, was that I understood what love is.
Really?
And that's the first memory that I have. When my mother came into my room, and I remember her talking to me, and I was frustrated because I couldn't communicate back. And I understood the love that was coming from her.
Oh.
And at age 6, I had an amazing journey to Jamaica with my family. It was a huge family vacation. And it's the first time that I encountered what I call a kindred spirit. It's somebody that you instantly become friends with, that you feel you've known forever. And this was a young man. I was 6 years old. He was probably about 20 years old. And he came from a very poor village up in near Montego Bay, and I didn't know how to swim, and he saved my life 3 times during this trip in 3 different ways.
Really?
The first one
Amazing.
was he taught me how to swim.
Oh, that's
And he
fun.
was so excited that I learned how to swim because I had fallen in the pool at night a few days after he taught me how to swim. And I probably would have drowned
Really.
had he not shown me.
Wow.
And then he took me to down the beach to where he had these shells. And on the way, he told me about his beautiful village that he came from and that he risked his life to dive for coral to support the village.
Oh,
And we were walking along and I saw a balloon in the water and I went running for it. And it turned out to be a Portuguese man of war jellyfish. And if it had
oh,
stung me, I would have died because the poison, he'd never seen one that big. And I
oh,
was so tiny. He ended up, as I was running to it, he
yeah.
threw me. He hooked me under my arms and threw me. And I had the wind knocked out of me.
Oh,
And this thing wrapped around his legs, the tentacles, and he got
oh,
stung.
oh,
And I started crying when he showed me all the scars. And then he said, no,
oh,
these are old scars from
oh,
when he risked his life. And he gave me
oh,
these
okay.
shells on the beach. And on the way back, I just kept thinking, I want to see this village.
Oh,
And so I drove my parents absolutely crazy until they let him take me to the village.
wow.
So they made arrangements with the resort we were staying in, and he drove me up to the village. And it was just me. And I remember the first thing is all these kids came out. They were all smiling and laughing, and they were so excited to greet me. And they all surrounded me, and they had no toys. Their clothes were tattered, but they were all happy. And they gave me fruit. They piled fruit all around me in a circle. And I kept telling them, no, I'm just like you. You don't have to do this for me. And they were just giving, giving, giving. And he had a palm leaf crown that he put on my head.
Really?
And they
Wow.
put me on, he hoisted me up onto a donkey and they walked
Uh-huh.
me through the village around each of the
Oh,
houses, each of the
gee.
huts.
Wow.
And so I was
Wow.
treated like royalty.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
really heartfelt.
And this is age 6. So
Oh,
what happened after I went back to my parents, was talking to my mother years later. We saw a picture of him and his name was Alex. She goes, do you remember Alex? I said, Mom, I still have the shells he gave me
yes.
as a kid. I still have them. They're on my desk.
Yes.
They're right here. So
Yes.
he, when my mother said, you don't remember what you did, do you? And I said, yeah, I remember the trip. I remember all the stuff. She said, no. At the end, you only flew back with the clothes you had on your back.
Oh.
You had us give all of your clothes to the kids.
Oh. Good.
And, that was an act of compassion. So
Yes.
he saved my life by teaching me something. He
Yes.
saved my life physically by preventing something.
Yes.
And then he gave me an opportunity to save my soul of
Yes.
giving something.
Yes. Oh, it's so
So there were
beautiful.
many life lessons at that. And that was age 6.
Yes.
I later
Wow.
found out that ceremony that they did is when they welcome a spiritual leader to their village.
Oh. Isn't that just touching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
I know I've been on this path. I know I was put here for a reason, and I've been given that path. And that's really the key, is when you can start. There are no coincidences in your life. I ended up with a degree in psychology and I wanted to be a computer programmer.
Yeah.
I'm using all of those pieces in some way today. Everything, every
Yes.
accident, every seeming
Yes.
setback
Yes.
is something that's moving me forward in a direction I
Yes.
needed to go.
Yes. So true. Yeah, the audience, listen to this. The things that happen to you when you're young sometimes might not be pleasant, but they are all good lessons of life. And I have mine, and Robert has his, and then you have
Yes.
yours, and they all have meanings, really. So,
Right.
and then how did you actually make a decision to take computer science? It's totally different.
I've been always interested. I have the most logical mind you're probably going to meet. I got 100 on a logic exam and the course in college.
Yeah.
I got 100 on the final.
Wow.
And
Really?
that's
Is
how
there such a
logical I
thing?
am. And I'm very,
Just talented there too.
yes.
It's just easy for you.
I can write application code. In fact,
Really?
I just visualize the code. I can just
Yes.
see and I just type it in. I don't even have any notes on my
Yeah.
desk. I can
Really?
just,
So you are the one coding the spiral share?
I'm one of them. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
helped
Yeah, I
create
know
that.
it's
Yeah.
got a beautiful software sharing information on social media to check it out. The other
Right.
thing I like to talk about Robert is he's written a few nice books, right? And then maybe tell us why did you write your first one, and which one is your first one?
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul is the first one, and it was more
Okay.
of an inward journey. That's about giving and compassion. So I wrote the story of Alex from Jamaica in that book. It's called Alex the Pool Man, and
Mm.
he took care of the pool at the resort. That's how I met him, and it's all of those stories are in there, things that all these life lessons. And what I wanted others to do when you read this book is to understand you have those same life lessons in your
Oh.
life. You just need to look at them and think about them. And when you can
Mm.
see your life, not through your eyes, but through your heart, you're going to understand what those lessons mean to you. And that's kind of the key.
Oh, isn't that nice to hear the message behind the book? So stories is so powerful, right? And then when you do your second book, so what's the purpose there?
The second book was Daily Downloads and Fortune Cookies from the Universe. And that's, I set a goal to write one inspirational thing every week for a year. And then I thought that was too easy. So I did it every day. And I ended up
Really?
writing
Every day?
every day for a year, but I ended up doing it for 4 years. And in fact, now it's
Uh-huh.
going on 6. And I
I,
post them on
oh,
my Facebook page. And now
okay.
there's almost 750,000 people following the posts.
Oh,
They're just, when I wake up, I just clear my mind. I think of gratitude, and then what can I write that's inspirational? And some of the words, and I
yes.
have many of them memorized. They're all stored as pictures in my mind. I can call them up like a Rolodex, but it's this is an example of one of them. Love
Oh,
has no walls, thus it cannot be conquered. Love has no boundaries, thus it is always open. Love has no limits, thus it has no end. All hearts come in one size, large. Make sure yours is filled with love and compassion. When it overflows with love and compassion, it may accidentally spill over onto others. And I can just be inspired by almost anything
so
and create these
mhm.
words from that.
So it just the words just come.
Yes.
Oh, so
Meditation.
that's
How I
well, that's
connected.
another part of you that we have to explore more, right? To
Yes.
understand that part, because I can understand the feelings, we have the thoughts, but put it in writing is different, right?
Right.
So I would call them I would call that you are channeling at the time. So we channel chi, we
Yes.
channel words, we channel messages. So you are channeling them into a written form.
Right.
So and then your other book.
The latest book is Soul Ciphers: Decoding a Life of Hope and Happiness.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the deluxe version of the first book in the fact that when people read the stories in the first book, the lessons are in there. They saw how I did this journey, but then they started asking me, how do I do that? How do I experience forgiveness like you did? So in this book, I'm combining my logical side, the ones and zeros, with the heart centered side, the X's and O's. And at the end of each chapter, I have 3D codes. So it's almost like reprogramming yourself for happiness. And it's things I do. So I had one, there's a chapter about the power of smiles. And the decode is it's a question to you. Do you smile when you're alone?
Well,
And
I will.
why aren't you sharing your smile with yourself? Because
Yeah.
that's where gratitude
Mm-hmm.
begins, to be
Yeah.
able to share with others. And
Yes.
I smile when I'm alone because I
Oh
know
yeah.
I never am.
I talk
And
to
that's kind
myself.
of the big picture, right?
Yeah. I used to talk to myself even when I was small. I thought it was crazy. I thought
No,
crazy people would do that.
you're
So
communicating
I
with your
know.
inner voice.
Yeah. But I didn't know until I grew up that it was actually okay. And it was
Yeah.
nice that you talk about smiling even when you're by yourself. So I like people to smile more too. So and then I also know that you are actually inspired to do a TV show.
Right.
So how what happened? How did it? I mean, the idea must be naturally coming along, but there must be stories, right?
Yeah, it started. I mean, I've done over the last 3 years I do probably 5 interviews a week every week. I'm on KBC radio every week, and just being in that environment. And I wanted to then start to explore the journeys that other people have taken. And that's what this show is about. It's the Mindset Reset Show, which is about changing perspective. And how do you transcend something? Like, we have people that have battled cancer, or people that have had abusive relationships, or people that are spiritual teachers from the world, like Dr. Joe Vitale. And we have Dee Wallace coming on the show. She's the Hollywood actress who played the mom in E.T., the extraterrestrial, with Steven Spielberg. And she's like a Hollywood scream queen in a lot of horror movies, but she has this deep spiritual side, and she's very connected. So it's how does this creativity and this mindset come about from all these amazing souls that are all around us. So there's people that are part of Hollywood or best-selling authors, to people that are just have what we consider, and I don't, average people. They're not average. Every one of us have a story to tell. And that's really the beauty of this show, is that all of these people are spiritual teachers.
Yeah, well, everyone has their own specialty, right? And then to help people to find who they are is really lovely.
Right.
I actually want to ask you the other side too. So people have struggles, right? Difficult moments, right? So is there any difficult moments you feel is something you want to share today?
Yeah, there's a few things. I hit my lowest point when I was 19, and no one really knew I was struggling. And I was doing very destructive things. I was a straight A student up to this point. I was, top in the Boy Scouts, the whole thing. And several friends that were close to me committed suicide or were killed in horrible car accidents. My mother was having a nervous breakdown. My dad was battling alcoholism. And then the only thing I had left, because my other close friends were away at college all over the US, so they weren't close. And then my girlfriend broke up with me, and it was a horrible breakup. And that was the last thing I had holding everything together. And then my car I went to rock bottom. I was devastated. It just tore my heart out and my soul, everything. And this waitress in the restaurant I worked at the time, it was around 11 o'clock at night. We were at the end of the shift, and she said, "Come here." She looked me in the eye and said, "I know what you're doing to yourself, and you need to stop, or you're going to kill yourself."
Oh, isn't that nice?
She said, "Put your hand out like this." So I put my hand out. She rummaged into her purse and put this pamphlet on it. And she put her hand on top like this and said, "This is a pamphlet that teaches you how to meditate. I want you to go home and do this. And I don't want to see you at the bars tonight." So I went home, being the logical person that I am. I read all the instructions and I started the meditation. But before I started, I said, if there's a God, I need to see something tonight. I need to physically see something, or I'm done with life. And I also, if you exist, I need help. I also need help. And I went into the meditation. Now, this is 3 hours. I focused my mind. And then I saw a light. It was flickering. And I opened my eyes, and this light was illuminating the room. But I thought it was coming from the window. And I kind of thought, well, this has been a waste of my time. And then I realized I could see the light either way with my eyes open or closed. And the light flashed after a short time. And it was an angel made out of light was in front of me. And I kept this a secret even from my family until 2012. I told my father the night that my mother was going to pass away or cross over. And I know he needed to hear that story. And I told him. He didn't say anything that night. I just told him, just be prepared. She's going to be crossing tonight at around 2:30. And that's when she did cross. And the next morning when we saw her body, we thought it was going to be horrible. They were married for 64 years. I couldn't imagine losing somebody that you love like that and that long. And he just smiled and said, "Doesn't my sweetie look beautiful?" Then he turned and said, "Bobby, tell your Uncle Dan about the angel." So it went into his soul too.
Oh,
And he had
yeah,
peace.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
thought, I need to live my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And, people might think you're crazy and they say, oh, I saw an angel or whatever. I'm
Mm-hmm.
Evan Almighty. I'm in that movie with Steve Carell. Like
Yes.
God's giving me a
Yeah,
directive.
seems yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So
that's
yeah,
me. So if you can understand
I
how my
understand.
life is,
Yeah.
but that's where the words come from.
Okay.
I see things so clearly like
Yeah.
that. And then I see the beauty in all of us. And
Mm-hmm.
I see when there are people with amazing
Yes.
souls that are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And I've watched people for 30 years. I mean, with this
Mm-hmm.
knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a double-edged sword. So actually, like you, I talk to myself. I talk to myself in the mirror right
Yes.
after this. And I said, you're going to have to live with knowing the rest of your life, the rest of your days on this planet. You know now that heaven is real. You were shown. So I don't have faith like normal people. I only have belief. Faith is when you take it on
Mm-hmm.
faith and it's belief in something that you have no proof of, where I was given proof. And I
Mm-hmm.
also never felt worthy of it. That's the other part of it. I mean, who could,
Mm-hmm.
that this
Understand.
happens.
Yeah.
And I was given, the angel actually touched me in the forehead with her index finger. And I've been plugged into all of it ever since then. It's like being plugged in the internet and only getting all the good stuff all the time.
Yes. I
And
understand.
that's the channeling part, is I'm
Yeah.
tapped into what heaven is, and it's just pure love. That's,
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
beautiful music
Yeah, that's
24 hours a
wonderful.
day.
Well, yeah. So if you talk with me, then I wouldn't think it's crazy because people around my life they see this kind of thing often.
Right.
So my
Yeah.
students, it's common in the Qi to have
Oh yeah, because
this
you're
kind of
bringing the
thing.
light.
So
You're bringing the
yeah, but
healing
we don't
light.
talk about to everyone too because not
Yeah.
everyone can appreciate, right?
Yeah, or be receptive. And I understand that.
Yeah, you have
But
to
I
find the
thought,
audience for it.
I'm very successful in business. And if I
Yeah.
start talking about this, will my business collapse and all those things? And I had to trust that
It will not
there's a higher
collapse.
source,
No,
and
no.
it's
Yeah.
time for me to walk the
Yes,
rest of
yes,
that
yeah, yeah.
path,
I understand.
and reveal
Yes,
this to the world and
yeah, I
share
understand.
these beautiful things. And
Yes,
it's about legacy. And that's the big word
yes,
that I get,
yes, yeah.
is always
Thank
legacy.
you. Yeah, I know. Back 20 years ago, even in Toronto, there's no one really do anything about Qigong. So I'm almost like the first few that really start to build Toronto with the Qi,
Yeah.
right? So it's a long journey into now. Then people start to have more things in the city and more place to learn and people doing that kind of thing. So New York must be a new amazing area to bring that more to the light, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is. And we have a good area where there's people, and I'm open about, sharing this now, even with business people, to, whoever. And it is my truth. I need to own that truth. And
Uh-huh.
I have all this information. And the day that I decided to start the page, and post these, it's almost like December 1st, 2012
Yeah.
was a unique day. I woke up with a bigger clarity that day in some
Yeah.
way. Well, there was also this horrible car accident that happened
Yeah.
on the highway near us, and 2 high school students were killed in this car accident.
Oh.
And they were the boy of one couple and the girl of another couple. So there were 2
Yeah.
couples in the car. And I knew instantly I was going to meet those families. And within the
Oh,
month,
okay.
they called me.
Yes.
And my words that I started writing on that exercise that I kept going,
Yes.
the family of the young woman contacted me and said, I read what you wrote, and you must be an incredibly beautiful soul to share these. And we want your blessing to put it on her headstone. And they did. So my words are carved in granite on her stone and her grave marker. And it says, if you love with all of your heart, life becomes one big smile. And so many people visit that site, and long after I'm gone, that granite stone will be there with those words to inspire somebody. So I've already accomplished my goal of leaving something behind that's going to be here for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's why there's a lot of people in this Healthy You conference. They're leaving their messages behind too, so that other people can follow and study it when they want to study it. They're all
Right.
words of wisdoms, really. So it's
Yeah.
not just talking a few sentences today from Robert. It's how he has actually moved from an ordinary person to what he is now, and there's a journey of I mean how to deal with being it's almost being abnormal in a normal society.
Right.
We are different, to honor the difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you to honor you are special, you have a gift, you have a talent to share. Not talking
Yeah.
about computer, talk about
No, no,
crazy
yeah.
things.
I look at it this way, that we're all superheroes. I love the
So
concept of the superhero because
okay.
everyone is one. And when
Mm-hmm.
you really think about it, a superhero is somebody who's found their unique talent or ability and they exploit it for the greater good of humanity. The cape and
Mm-hmm.
mask are optional, but the kind heart is essential. And they always come from a place to try to help others with whatever that, what they sometimes envision as a curse on them becomes their ability to help other people. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of it. And the other thing about superheroes, they never, ever, ever give up on hope. And hope
Yes.
is a word that only exists when you believe in it. And it's the
Yes.
same with love and faith. Those three
Mm-hmm.
words, there's no synonym. They only exist
Yeah.
when you hold them.
Yeah. This is that beautiful. Just awesome. So what are you? I know you have the TV show. Is that what you're working on right now, which is your primary attention? You must
Yes.
have
Well, I have
more.
the TV show. I have Spiral Shares. You mentioned on my ones and zeros side is this
Yeah.
software that we're developing, this service application, and I've got a great team. There's Cameron Bruins from my office is the one that helps with all the social integration and a lot of the user interface. We have Neil Wright, our creative director. He's worked on the launch for Guitar Hero. He works with Citigroup and large Fortune 50, 100 companies. So we're doing a lot of design projects. I get to work every day with amazing creative people who just make things out of nothing. They make beautiful things just from the ethers and bring it here. And that's the
Okay.
key energy when you can tap into that. And
Yeah.
it's almost that they're at a high vibration of creativity
Yeah.
and they can just see it. And we create these things. And the other side is the show. And I have a wonderful co-host, Lisa Winston. She's just an amazing light and such energy. She's a singer as well. So she's got this whole other side to her and creativity. And together, we just make this show very fun, and that's what I love about it. That there's going to be some interesting conversations, and they're half-hour episodes, and they're going to air throughout the world. You'll be able to get them on TV To Go app. You'll be able to get it on Roku, DirecTV, out in the California area. In Detroit, it's on She TV and Hollyfield cable television. So it's going to reach approximately 500 million people through Easy Way and iLaunch Global, which is the network that holds and
Yes.
coordinates all this stuff. So we're
Yes.
just looking
Yes.
forward to
Yeah.
just sharing that light with everyone.
Yeah. So your tips to the people in business to how to move the energy is there the chi energy we call the chi, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, we'll look forward to your tips
sure.
for
There's a
life and
great
business.
yeah, there's a great example. I love Steve Jobs, and I'll explain in a moment. But first, I'm going to talk about the physical form. So, as you know, when you have energy coming at you, such as somebody trying to punch you or grab on you or tackle you, you can't stop that person. In martial arts, we don't stop them.
Mm-hmm.
We redirect that energy. And what I like to do is direct that energy with a circle, and it circles right back into them. So they
Yeah.
take all
It's
that
like
energy
a
in
go back,
defense,
right?
it
Yeah.
goes back into them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Steve Jobs did an amazing martial arts technique when he was giving an Apple keynote. What happened was he gets on stage. He'd been out of Apple because he got ousted. Then he was brought back in. he started his speech about all the things going on, and then somebody started heckling him from the audience. They said, "You don't know what you're doing. You just came back after 10 years. You're clueless. This is going wrong. You can't do this right." All those things. And instead of reacting, which is what we do, and try to meet that force like this, he didn't do that. He took a drink of water. So he took his water, he took his time, took a sip, put it back down, and he just relaxed, which is one part of martial arts. And the other part was, he said, you can please some people some of the time. And he paused again, and then he agreed with the guy. He said, but this gentleman is absolutely correct. I don't have all the answers. And I'm making mistakes, and I'm going to make mistakes. But I need to trust and learn from those to make things better. So we're figuring it out. But we do have the big goal in mind of where we're going. We're going to stumble, but we're going to get back up. We're going to dust ourselves off, and we're going to keep going toward this big vision. And at the end of this, he got a standing ovation from the whole crowd. And that was a perfect example of that key energy and agreeing with that, so that there's no argument. In the heat of the moment, it's hard to agree with the other person. But as soon as you do, they have no argument. You've taken the energy away. It's gone.
So everyone just want to be right. So when they want to right, I just say, you're right.
You're right.
I just want to be happy. I said you are right.
So why are you angry about this if we're going here? But remember, here's where we're going. Aren't we all part of this?
But isn't that a great story to share? I'll always remember this. This is very, very beautiful, really, to even think about, while you were speaking and someone stood up and pointed at you. Wow, that was a lot. That was great. That was a great. I wish I could be there to witness that. So nice.
There's a lot of pieces with that, but that's how martial arts, plays a role. I look at, there's many things in martial arts, and with Qigong, everything, there's fundamental pieces that we bring in, not only from there, but into our life. One of them is balance. The other one is the circles that you use within. So that's why they have small circle jujitsu. There's circles involved in that, because the body's linear. But when you incorporate a circle, everything becomes possible. So translate that to your life and business. You have your family circle, your friends, your business, your staff, your community, and the world are your circles. And then the universe is the biggest one that we're all within. So all those circles are all parts of martial arts, but they're also all parts of business and life. And when you start looking at how these circles intertwine and interlock, it's like raindrops that are making ripples. They all do connect. And you probably experience, if you go on Facebook, all of a sudden, I've got my business people and my high school friends and and they're all connected in this big circle on social media. But you have to bring it out into the world too, and create those ripples. So you got to create circles too in order to move through life. And that's creating those ripples, making new drops, and becoming that rainstorm of kindness and compassion, and bringing that forward.
So, well, as you love the martial arts so much, then maybe you have a message for the parents, right? Why the children, it's good for them to get involved with martial arts. I say go for anyone around your neighborhood, really. So what's the reason that's good for children to join?
It's one of the best things to help with focus. I've taught actually very young kids and a lot of kids that are challenged, that from kids that have autism, Asperger's, to kids that have ADD or ADHD. And it keeps them focused and on track. And it has, what I love about martial arts, there are incremental goals that you reach, but those goals are yours. You're not competing against somebody else. You're competing against you. How can you be better next time that you're there? And I love when students have the light bulb go on and do that. And there was a young man who came in. He had behavioral issues. And I remember him as a white belt and a yellow belt and an orange belt. and we had to wrangle him. He was poking at the other kids and just very disruptive. And we just kept teaching him the forms, teaching him the movements, teaching him to this is not appropriate, discipline, and keeping that going. And then he got moved to another night. Once he got to another belt level, it was another night that you teach and I wasn't in that class. The other instructors had him. And then he came back to mine because I taught not the intermediate, but I taught the beginner and the advanced. So the intermediate time, I didn't really see him for maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I walked in and he had gotten advanced to my class again. I walked in and this young man is standing there. He says, "Hello, Mr. Clancy. How are you this evening?"
And
changed. I was like, oh my God, it's him.
Changed. Yeah.
And he was different. And I know it stuck with him because I hadn't seen him for 3 years. And I was in a parade in town and he was sitting in a chair. I was walking up the road in the parade and he waved and he said, Hi, Master Clancy. How are you doing?
Is that sweet?
And he remembered my name and everything. That's an amazing journey that he took, and it really transformed him. So one of the biggest reasons that parents should get their young people, their children involved, is it does teach that discipline, but it gives them so much success and the tools that they need to move forward. There's so many things you can learn just by doing martial arts. How do you handle confrontation? How do you get rid of your energy that is frustrated or that you don't know what to do with? Because a lot of them bottle it up
and so to speak, kick them out, right?
Yeah. So, and it teaches that I don't have to be afraid. I can have all those tools to move forward. And it also translates into the adults. And if you can take class with your child, that's even better. That's the ultimate right there. Yeah.
Take with your child. Well, that's my that's what I like to been trying to do, is get the parents practice the Qigong with their child. So if they become more popular, it would be a great thing too. So
because it's a bonding
look
experience.
at it like martial arts. Follow Robert Clancy and then get a child and the parent in the same room, right?
Right.
Yeah. So how many classes are you teaching a week now? Or maybe
there's 2. I do 2. I teach on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings.
Okay.
So it's 2 hours, sometimes 3, depending. And then we have clinics that we do once or twice a year with Grandmaster Pellegrini. Now, Grandmaster Pellegrini is the founder of the system. I've trained with him for 20 years. He is a world-renowned martial artist. He's in the Black Belt Hall of Fame. He's one of the top black belt martial art instructors in the world. He's friends with everyone. If you know somebody, any name in martial arts, he's from Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, the Bruce Lee family. He's got pictures with them. He's having this huge event in September for his birthday. It's his 70th birthday bash. And he's going to have a whole day of things and a big banquet at night. Definitely going to try to get out there for that. He just released a new book too. It's the journey through the yin and the yang, and it's all his philosophy, because he feels legacy now. He's getting 70, and he said, "Hey, I could be gone tomorrow, and this needs to carry on." And he's passing the torch to us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's amazing, just to be in that.
So leaving a legacy is so important. So probably that's one of the reasons what you're doing, write books, and also part of your legacy, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the last thing, is there anything else you want to say before we just
well, if you're hesitating to get out there and do martial arts at this point, or you're not experiencing the full thing, it's time to take that journey. It translates into so many things. I had the confidence to sit across from like Citigroup and to be able to talk about it, and then it was go and make this contract happen. So that was the amazing thing, and have the confidence to say, we can deliver this. It gave me that piece that's part of the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's great for business.
Yes, it is great
Great
for
for
business. It's
career.
great for life and business.
Yes. Wow. I like martial artists. They are a bit different. Uh they're very humble, and then they don't even talk about their martial artists, although they're very good. So I met a lot of interesting ones that really
Yeah.
my lovely students too. So I well, thank you.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. It's been just an honor to talk to you, to share this, and I love talking about martial arts. And I've actually had it in other interviews, but I love this one because it's all about martial arts and how
I
you bring
love
all that in.
martial arts. I always like to ask people bring the children to something, and then learning martial arts discipline when they're young is really has a big meaning when they grow up, because
Yeah.
they always remember that time they had a great time. And they
Yes.
always reflect it later on. They have a good moments they will remember, and then when
Yeah.
they're falling down, they'll remember they stood up when they were punched, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it was great. So
Yeah.
so thank you so much
Well, thank
for
you
being
again.
here again. So, so thanks everyone for joining me today. So look forward to meeting you all in another episode. Okay, bye.